When Charlie Watts died in August of 2021, the Rolling Stones faced a problem that most bands never have to solve, because most bands don't last 60 years. They had a US tour booked, and the man who had sat behind the drum kit for their entire existence, since 1963, since before half the audience's parents were born, was gone. So they did the only thing they could. They put another drummer in Charlie's chair. His name is Steve Jordan, and the reaction from a lot of longtime fans was exactly what you'd expect. How dare anyone sit in that seat? But here's what most of those fans didn't know, and what makes this whole story more interesting than band hires replacement. Steve Jordan wasn't some stranger the Stones auditioned. Charlie Watts picked him. And Charlie couldn't have picked anyone better, for reasons that go a lot deeper than talent. Let me explain who Steve Jordan actually is, because the replacement drummer label does him a real disservice. Jordan is one of the most respected drummers in American music, full stop. He came up in the house band on Saturday Night Live, then David Letterman's band. Those gigs alone require a player who can lock into any style flawlessly on live television with no second takes. He's played with everyone: Keith Richards' solo band, John Mayer, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan. The list goes on for a paragraph. This is not a hired hand. This is a first-call world-class musician who happens to have spent decades in Keith Richards' orbit specifically. That last part matters enormously, and here's why. Jordan had already been Keith Richards' drummer of choice in Keith's solo project, the Expensive Winos, going back to the late 1980s. So when he stepped into the Stones, he wasn't learning how Keith plays. He already had 30 years of experience locking in with Keith's guitar. And if you understand how the Rolling Stones actually work as a band, you know that everything hinges on the relationship between the drums and Keith's rhythm guitar. That's the engine room. That's where the whole thing lives or dies. Now here's the part that a non-musician explanation always misses. Replacing a drummer is not like replacing a singer or a lead guitarist. When a new singer joins a band, everyone can hear it instantly. It's a different voice out front. But the drummer is the foundation the entire building sits on. Get that wrong and it doesn't matter how good everyone else is. The whole thing feels off in a way the average listener can feel but can't name. The drummer sets the feel, whether the band pushes ahead of the beat or leans back behind it, whether it swaggers or marches. And Charlie Watts had one of the most distinctive feels in the history of rock. I've talked before about the specific thing Charlie did, lifting his hand off the hi-hat on the backbeat, a jazz-rooted quirk that gave the Stones their loose, behind-the-beat swagger. So the challenge for Steve Jordan wasn't, can you play these songs? Any competent pro can play these songs. The challenge was, can you make them feel like the Rolling Stones? Which is a completely different and much harder task. It means suppressing your own instincts and channeling someone else's feel, night after night, on songs the audience has heard 10,000 times and knows in their bones. And by most accounts, Jordan has pulled it off, which is a genuinely remarkable feat of musical humility. Critics reviewing the recent Stones album specifically praised how well he captures Charlie's feel while still being himself. That balance is the whole art of the job. Play it too much like yourself, and it's not the Stones anymore. Play it as a pure imitation, and it's a karaoke version, lifeless. The sweet spot, honoring the original feel while still breathing real life into it, is one of the hardest things a musician can be asked to do, and it almost never gets credit, because when it's done right, you don't notice it at all. The highest compliment a replacement drummer can get is that you forgot to think about him. There's a human dimension here too that's worth sitting with. Imagine being Steve Jordan. You've had a legendary career on your own terms, and now the biggest gig of your life comes with the condition that you must, to some degree, disappear into another man's identity, a beloved man, recently deceased, whose fans are actively resentful that you exist. You walk out every night knowing a chunk of the crowd wishes you weren't there. That takes a particular kind of professional character, enough ego to handle the pressure of the world's biggest rock band, and enough humility to serve someone else's legacy rather than your own. Those two traits almost never live in the same person. In Jordan, they apparently do. And it circles back to why Charlie's choice was so perfect. Charlie didn't just pick a great drummer. He picked a great drummer who already understood the engine room relationship with Keith, who had the taste to know what to preserve, and who had the character to subordinate his own considerable ego to the job. That's not luck. That's a man who knew exactly what his band needed and made sure it was in good hands before he was gone. There's something quietly moving in that. Charlie Watts, thinking about the band's future past his own lifetime, and handing the keys to someone he trusted to protect what they'd built. So the next time you hear someone dismiss Steve Jordan as the guy who replaced Charlie Watts, understand what that sentence actually contains. It's not a story about a substitute. It's a story about one master musician recognizing another, about the near-impossible job of carrying someone else's feel, and about the kind of professionalism that's invisible precisely because it's done so well. Nobody can replace Charlie Watts, and Steve Jordan, to his enormous credit, has never once tried to. He's done something harder and smarter. He's honored him, ate to the bar, every single night.